Hi, this is Roger Moore, and you're listening to James Bond Radio.
Hello, and welcome to James Bond Radio, episode 140. 140, folks. With me, as always, is the main man, my partner in crime, Mr. Tom Sears. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm doing very well, mate. I'm doing very well. I'm excited to give Timmy a proper send-off, as we always do, apart from with George, obviously, because he only had one film. We do a little retrospective, don't we, for each actor when we finish their run. And as short as Timmy's run was, we thought there's enough in there to do a retrospective, a two-parter. So we're going to continue this next week and explore the ins and outs, the highs and lows of Timmy's time, mainly the highs, I would say, of Timmy's time as Bond. Are you excited for that?
I am. I like a bit of Daltonator, and I think, I think there's a lot of love for him out there, and it'll be nice just to revisit. And I know License to Kill wasn't that long ago, but it seems like years ago we did The Living Daylights. It probably is years ago.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice just to go through it. I've got a couple of little things which we did last time, and there's one little treat which I think everyone listening will enjoy, hopefully anyway. But that's coming towards the end of the podcast. So we'll see.
Right, very nice. Okay, cool stuff. So we have some listeners to thank this week before we get cracking, haven't we?
We certainly do. Now, this is a JBR shout-out to some people who have been rather kind and pressed the donate button that we often mention. So these are donators, and now they're going back towards the start of the year. I think what we're going to do is be a bit more regular in terms of thanking the donations, because we do appreciate it. It is really, really appreciated by Tom and I, and put to good use. I've run out of pants recently, so that's been good. I've got a new stock of that. Your stockings have come in now.
Lovely,
you're doing all right on those.
With the hold-ups and stuff. That's nice.
The hold-ups and the stilettos.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah, excellent. So it is all appreciated. So I'm just going to give some shout-outs to Mr. Darren Noble, Matthew Brooker, Derek Brown, Paul Jameson, Lotten Lindberg, which sounds quite Bondian in itself.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Simon Atkinson, Simon Firth, Paul Lally, Jeff Silence, Richard Barrett Small, Rebecca Francis Jones, and Cameron Ewing. So a big thanks to everyone there who's donated.
Thank you very much indeed. Always appreciated when you guys help out like that. That's really nice of you. Thank you. So then, before we crack on, I suppose I should do a little bit of a social media roundup. I haven't really done this for a little while, for a few episodes. Come and follow us on all the social medias. Just put James Bond Radio into the search box and you will find us. The only one we don't do is Snapchat. If you find us on Instagram, it's under James Bond Podcast rather than James Bond Radio, in case you get lost. Good old Dobson over there, Agent Dobson, he's been sorting that out for us. Over 1,000 followers now on Instagram, Chris. That's exciting, isn't it?
Nice.
That's lovely. Come and get involved. Get stuck into the social medias and all that lovely stuff. Have I got anything else to say? The website, jamesbondradio.com. Come and enjoy the content over there. And of course, if you want to follow the footsteps of these esteemed listeners we just mentioned, there's the donate link over there. Again, always appreciated, never expected. So only if you've got a few quid burning a hole in your pocket and you want to buy crisps and new underpants, or me some items for my weekend hobbies that shall remain nameless. But thank you very much indeed. Good stuff. Now, I believe we have a listener trivia question, don't we, Chris?
We do. And the listener trivia question for this week is from Mr. Shamir Ravji.
Shall we have a listen?
Let's do it.
Hey, Tom and Chris. This is Shamir Ravji calling from Station C, Canada. And I just wanted to leave a trivia question for you guys. Right now I live in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and James Bond actually visited the city where I live right now in one of the Fleming novels. Can you guys guess which novel that is? Thanks, bye.
Righty-ho, excellent. I do like a Fleming question. They don't come up as often as the film questions, as you probably would expect, but I do like a Fleming question. I must admit, I'm balls deep into Forever and a Day at the moment. Chris, have you started it yet?
I'm about to start tonight, actually.
Oh, very nice.
I've got it up beside my bed and it's ready to go. So yeah, I can't wait.
Mate, I'm not going to tell you anything, but I am thoroughly enjoying it. And it's that, we're talking about Fleming, it has that feel down. And I mean, nice. I'm only like about a third of the way in, so, you know, it might all go tits up. But so far, I've literally loved every chapter and had a big smile on my face. So, back to Shamir's question, just to briefly segue. Good question. I think I've got a fairly good idea what that one is. What about you?
I've got a good idea of quite a few that it's not. So I'm going to take it from that side and try and narrow it down from there. Nice. The other thing, I mean, Fleming questions are brilliant, but every time we get one, it does remind me I need to sort of delve into the old Flemings and just book a week off work or whatever, find myself in an island, just have the whole stack of Flemings and read away. And
that's the tricky thing, because I think for me, I read them all when I was a kid. When I was like probably 13, I would say I went through my big Fleming phase of reading them all. And then I've sporadically picked up the odd one here and there since. And I haven't gone through the whole series in one go. And the last one I read, I think, was Dr. No, about a year ago. And there was loads of stuff that I'd forgotten. So it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's not like watching a 2-hour film. Like a book is a real investment of time, isn't it? And it's hard to remember as much stuff as you get in a film. But yeah, nice one, Shamir. Good question. We'll find out the answer to that later in today's episode. So should we crack on with the Timmy D retrospective then, Chris?
Let's do it. Let's get some theme tune on the go.
Who are you?
My name's Bond. James Bond.
Bond.
James.
Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British end up, sir.
Welcome to James Bond Radio. News, reviews, and discussion of all things 007.
Pussy. As you can see, I have no problem with female authority.
Oh, pipe down, 007.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to buy.
Okay, then. Where are we kicking off?
Okay, so we're going to start at the start, as we tend to do sometimes. We're going to look at Timmy D's films pre-Bond. Now, a lot of the stuff that he did was sort of, he did quite a few TV series, quite a few TV movies, and the odd little film as well. Now, his first film was called A Lion in Winter. Now, I've never seen A Lion in Winter. In fact, there's a lot of Timothy stuff pre-Bond that I haven't seen. The things that stand out that I have seen, I remember watching an episode of Charlie's Angels when I was like super young back in the day, looking at this guy going, that's James Bond. What's he doing on the telly? And it's quite cool. So Tim in it, it's obviously just a single episode, but he plays this character called Damien Roth, who's kind of like an international jewel thief / James Bond type character, playboy sort of thing. And I remember thinking, man, this is really cool. I'm seeing an extra James Bond thing that I've never seen before. Have you seen that episode?
No, I haven't. Is that the same era of Charlie's Angels that would have had good old Stacey Sutton in, or is that a different?
I think it's
Angels?
Just before. It would have been a little bit before that one. So I think this would have been the sort of. I think this was late 70s, maybe early 80s, something like that. I think it was called Fallen Angel was the episode. Yeah, and it's definitely worth checking out because Timmy D, he is pretty cool in it, which is class. He obviously played Prince Baron in Flash Gordon. Now you must have seen that one,
absolutely,
Tommy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always the scene that sticks out in my mind in that one is where there's that weird log with the holes in, and they have to put their hands in it. That's always the one that sticks out. But I tell you what, he does make a good swashbuckler, doesn't he? Because I remember he was in like a mini series of Gone with the Wind as well, wasn't he? Am I right in remembering that?
He played Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights, was it, or is it something else? Oh no, maybe he did do that as well. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think
now.
He must have done.
But yeah, no, I've seen.
No, he must have done. Yeah,
Flash Gordon was always a classic, and there was another film from that time as well, which maybe a bit later actually, which was The Rocketeer, and I loved The Rocketeer, man. Did you ever see that one?
No. Now that was actually post-Bond. So we're going to come on to that later.
All right.
But that's one of the ones I haven't seen, and I've heard good things about it.
Oh, mate, you've not seen Rocketeer.
No.
When I was a wee lad, that was a favourite of mine, man.
Really?
If you I haven't seen it in years, so it might be one of those things that was good when you were young and not so much now.
Yeah.
But if you're into like your high adventure stuff, like your Indiana Jones, like Indiana Jones to me would be the closest.
I think that's what they were trying to copy, weren't they? When they did something along those lines.
You got all the Nazi bad guys and stuff, and Zeppelins and all that kind of bombing around everywhere. Oh man, you've inspired me to rewatch that now. Right. I need to rewatch The Rocketeer. Yeah, that's a belter, that film.
That's next weekend, sort of. Brilliant. So then a few other films that he did pre-Bond. Centennial was one, Jane Eyre, Antony and Cleopatra, which unfortunately I haven't seen any of those that he was in. Was there any other pre-Bond stuff that you've seen Tim in?
No, again, this is one of my weaknesses in the sense that if I'm in the mood to see a Bond person, I typically stick on a Bond film. You know, the only one in recent times I've watched is Layer Cake. I watched that again recently. And that's obviously because we went to Stoke Poges and I thought, okay, I'm going to have a look at that. And it was funny, actually. Loads of that stuff happens in the very room we had our cream tea in, which was quite exciting to see.
Nice.
But yeah, I need to bone up on all that kind of stuff. I need to go deep on the Saint and the Persuaders and all that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of it, isn't there? There's a lot to get through.
It certainly is. I mean, that's pretty much what was on my mind after we did Sir Roger. We did the retrospective and I was like, right, there's so much stuff I haven't seen. So I did do quite a few of the Saint and the Persuaders, and I did at least 7 or 8 Roger Moore films I hadn't seen before. Yeah. And it was really good just sort of going back into that sort of stuff. So I'm looking to do the same with Tim. Now, he did 2 films between Daylights and License to Kill called Hawks and Brenda Starr. And I know of them both. I recognise the titles, and I know that Timmy is in both. He often talks about Brenda Starr in relation to his availability. But I still haven't seen either of those. Have you seen either of those?
No, I can't say I've seen. I think in Hawks he plays somebody that's like terminally ill or something, isn't it? And
that's it.
It's supposed to be quite a deep story and all that kind of stuff. And like maybe with Sir Roger saying the man who haunted himself was his finest hour in terms of his acting, I feel like Hawks is maybe Tim's equivalent, or at least maybe he thought that. I don't know, but I haven't seen either of them. Yeah.
No, for Hawks I'd love to check out. He plays opposite Anthony Edwards, who played Goose in Top Gun, so that's quite cool.
Very nice.
And Brenda Starr, the story behind that is it's someone that writes a comic strip about and writes himself into the comic strip. So it's almost a bit of a Marvel-y type thing, I think, but without going too comic booky. But that was completely different to what I thought it was when I first heard it. But again, something that's worth checking out.
Brenda Starr sounds like some sort of like, you know those kinds of films that usually have like what's her name, Bette Midler in. That's all like somebody dies at the end and they all get upset, and it's a film for ladies. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's, if I hear Brenda Starr, makes me think it's one of those films. So that's very strange to hear it's about comic books and stuff. Yeah.
Well, interesting, but we'll have to check those out. Okay, so on to Timmy D and doing a bit of Bond. Okay, so now I think we're going to have to start with the pre-titles. So we've got Daylights, we've got License to Kill. I mean, okay, let's roll it over to you. What are your thoughts on those two?
Oh, mate, I think the Daylights pre-title sequence is probably the best one in the whole series. Let me give you a quick rundown of the 3 pre-titles that really get me excited. Goldfinger, right? I like my sneaky Bond. I like, a little bit of sneaking around, taking people down stealthy, maybe blowing something up, then escaping, and then we got a theme song. That to me is a good recipe for a pre-title sequence. GoldenEye is another one, right? That's another great pre-title sequence. Lovely bit of sneaky to begin with, and then a bit of crash bang wallop. And then The Living Daylights, I think there is something about that is so perfect to introduce a new Bond. That whole thing of like, you don't really see his face all straight away, and there's a reveal moment like you get in GoldenEye, and some of the others. That to me, there is something really perfect about that pre-title sequence. Let's talk about it for a second. Okay, you're on Exercise 00 section. You don't see any faces. There are pictures available of them in the set of the plane, and you see Timmy there and the other 2 dudes. And so that was probably shot, I would have thought. Maybe some angles where you do see their faces, and obviously they chose not to go that route and keep it from behind.
Good.
That score is so brilliant as well during that skydive little halo jump thing that they do. That is so perfect. And then the way it all just, you're expecting a training exercise, it all goes wrong very, very quickly. And then you've got that bit where he jumps on top of the Jeep. He's running down that little hill, jumps on top of the Jeep. Big old struggle. He gets the Timmy headbutt in there. It goes off the edge, parachute, lands on a boat with a beautiful woman. Exercise control, I'll report in an hour. Better make that 2. I mean, dude, like, you've hit every single fucking beat that you need to hit to introduce a new Bond. You've got some sneaky Bond. You've got some cool like stunt stuff going on. You've got a wicked fight and a high-speed chase rolled into one. You've got a bit of parachuting, and you've got a beautiful lady on a yacht at the end of it. I don't think you could do a better one than that, really. You would have to really go some. And they come close. I think Spectre comes close as a pre-title sequence. I did love that. But to sort of like introduce a new Bond and like get all those little hit points in to say this is the dude, right? He might look a bit different now, but he's the dude. I think that one just nails it. What do you think?
Well, I don't have to say anything. I think that pretty much covers. Yeah, I mean, it is the best. I mean, for me, obviously, I love the Octopussy one as well, and I would put that up there with it. But it is pretty much flawless. That reveal, like that turn when Bond turns after hearing 004's scream when he's falling down, that is just incredible. And Tim looks so good in that moment. And like you said, you got that frantic chase. And the guy, the sort of impersonator, the SAS impersonator, he's an evil-looking dude.
Yeah,
you know?
he's a tough dude, yeah.
He's or the 00 impersonator, whoever he is. He was great casting, and that whole battle is brilliant. And the whole idea with the paint guns, and so they can't kill him, and all that is brilliant. And just the action is top notch, isn't it? It really is.
And I tell you what, something that we've both failed to mention is we've got one of the greatest lines in the whole series as well thrown in there. You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, hold on, you're dead. That one.
Oh,
I can't get enough of that. I want more of that. Yeah.
Mate, unbelievable. I think it is as its mini movie. I mean, obviously it relates to the rest of the film, but as its own little 5, 6, 7 minute segment or whatever it is perfect. Yeah. It is absolutely perfect, that pre-titles. I mean, yeah, I'm going to say you can't get a better one. There is not a better pre-titles than Living Daylights, I don't think. There just isn't. It's got so much in there.
It is a belter.
And you get the double O's as well. You get a couple of double O's.
You do. We always like to see that, don't we? Now, so talk to me about License to Kill then. You lead the way on that one. What do you think? Yeah.
So obviously Living Daylights, we eulogise it. It's a brilliant. I think License to Kill is a really, really solid effort. I think its strengths lie in how the villain is revealed, and not in terms of a sort of flashy way or a hidden way, but just in terms of you see what a nasty bastard this guy is. So he's got his Stingray whip. He's whipping Lupe. He gets Dario to cut off that guy's heart. And he's just a vicious guy, and he's powerful, and it comes across so well. And then you've got the whole thing about it obviously being against Felix, and Felix is trying to get him, and James is just along for the ride, isn't he, Bond?
Strictly as an observer. Yeah.
That's it.
I tell you what's interesting about this one is that you're not just having an action sequence. Like in the way Living Daylights sets up the theme of the film, the whole Spionem thing, and that's obviously kicks off the story. This one introduces the villain. Like that, as good as that 00 impersonator dude is, he's gone and done by the time the title sequence arrives, whereas this one you're actually introducing the main villain of the piece, and he is terrifying, man. That bit where cut out his heart, I'll give you his heart, and all that kind of stuff, and the whipping, and just how nasty Dario looks in that pre-title sequence. It's setting him up as like a different kind of villain, one that I'm genuinely terrified of, so there's that. And then you've still got, for a Bond film that's like, as we said before, it has a very different feel, doesn't it, than the rest of the series, or most of the rest of the series. But it still has all of those Bondian hit points, doesn't it? Those things like parachuting into the wedding. Like that's
class.
That is a Bond moment. Nobody else does that apart from Bond. That kind of thing, that little flavour.
And it's the parachutes like as a wedding train going in as well. That is just pure Bond, isn't it? That's great.
It really is. Yeah. So out of those two, I was going to say which one do you think is the best, but I think we've already made our feelings clear on that. But it's I think I'd say both very solid entries in the pre-title sequence stakes. What do you think?
100%, yeah. And obviously we haven't mentioned the whole stunt where he's hanging off the helicopter. Let's go fishing, and obviously goes around and wraps it, and that's a really sort of innovative, original way of how you're gonna get someone in an airplane. And I love how Sanchez is pretty cocky. When he's in his plane, he does that little salute and he's got the cheeky smile. He thinks he's out of there. He's got away clean with it. Yeah. And then obviously Bond turns the tables on him a bit. But yeah, I think it's a really solid effort. But Daylights for me is perfection. That
absolutely. Yeah, I think that old Chris Nolan liked that little sequence, didn't he? Because
he certainly did.
Another cool little touch I like the little touches is obviously, like you say, about the parachutes being the wedding train as they walk in, and how Bond's got his hat there and it's still got the bullet hole in. Do you know what I mean? It's things like that just, as small and subtle as that is, that's a very Bondian thing, to turn up to a wedding with a bullet hole in your hat. Just it's just the business, man. I do like it a lot. Now, next up, Chris, we're going to talk about something very, very important, which is, of course, Timmy D's delivery of the infamous line, James Bond.
Is that how he does it?
Indeed. So, talk to me. What are your feelings about this? Because I've got some very definitive feelings in my own mind. What are your thoughts, first of all?
Okay, so he sort of says a line once in each film, as far as I can remember. And it is very, very different to what we've had before. So both Sean and Roger and George, they've all said the line with quite a bit of a pause. Yeah. So it's Bond, James Bond. And you've got that line. You've got that time, haven't you?
And I tell you what, man, that, for me, that pause is a make or break thing. And I would say Connery absolutely nails it in Dr. No. That
First
pause
round,
is so absolutely perfect for the first time it's ever been. It's not even because it's the first time and he sets the template. It just is perfect. That delivery is absolutely bang on. George's is quite jolly, isn't it? My name is Bond, James Bond. It's that kind of vibe. And there's a bit of a pause in there as well. And Roger's pause in Live and Let Die, there's very defined, like you say, and it's quite a different delivery, but still long pause. Timmy, he doesn't hang around, does he?
He doesn't know. So it's basically, she goes, "Who are you?" He's like, go on.
He's just like, Bond, James Bond, exercise control, 007 here, I'll report him now. He's not got a bunch, which I kind of like, right? It's because let's look at this, right? Let's look at the man involved here, Timmy. His whole idea about doing Bond was, listen, I want to do this by the book. Like, literally, I want to get it as close to Fleming. And after all that has gone down, would Fleming's Bond be like, "Ooh, a lady"? No, he wouldn't, would he? He'd be all business. He'd probably call her a bitch and sort of knock her around a little bit, if truth be told, but you can't have that in the films. No. So there is that. Now, if you watch the trailer of The Living Daylights, or I think it's the teaser or maybe the official trailer, I can't remember which one it is, you get the alternate take of that, where you hear, what's the name of the lady? Is it
Linda?
Linda, that's it. You hear her non-dubbed. So instead of "Who are you?" you get her just having an American accent.
I thought you were going to try it then.
I can't remember her delivery of those of it. But so you just get her American accent, and he does a different delivery of Bond, James Bond, and he says, "Better make that too," instead of "better make that too." Now, I would say his delivery in that trailer is better than the one the one they actually went for in the film.
Now, are you talking about the makes that too, or if we're strictly speaking about Bond, James Bond, is that different as well?
Yeah, it's just a slightly different delivery. Yeah, it's from what I remember, it's less hurried, and it's sort of like there's a bit of a pause in there. It's just there's something a bit more flippant about the way he delivers it in the trailer that I quite enjoy. But so if you haven't seen that, seek that out, because it's on YouTube and you can have a look at it, and it's just interesting to see that alternate take.
And strange why they didn't go for it as well. Yeah, with the obvious sort of linguistic sort of differences.
The better make that too has always been a puzzler. But hey, whatever. Yeah,
there we are. But I completely agree with you in terms of how it's delivered. It's different, but it suits Timmy's character. It suits the scene. It suits his Bond. So no problem with that at all. I think for what it is, I think it works well. Definitely. Yeah.
Just before we move on, the balance involved there is you've got the no nonsense Bond, like he needs to get back to exercise control and report because shit's hit the fan. Yeah. But you still get the sort of filmic Bond that we love and we've grown to get used to. So I think The Living Daylights is an interesting sort of like back and forth between those 2 points of like, right, let's go Fleming 100%. But at the same time, we've got to do film Bond as well, because that is what people come to see on the screen. And the better make that 2 bit that's the lover man Bond that I need to see. Do you know what I mean? So it's a nice little balance there.
Nice, I like it, definitely. Okay, so on to License to Kill. Now, this one is equally a sort of off the cuff. It's not quite as horrid, but it's not as nice because he kind of gets interrupted slightly. So it's when he's in the casino, he goes to see Sanchez, and he puts out his hand, Bond, James Bond, and it's about that sort of speed of delivery.
Yeah.
And even just as he's finished, Hella straight away says, "Sit, please." So he sort of cuts him off. So again, I guess, he wouldn't go, "My name is Bond, James Bond," or anything like that. It suits the scene.
Yeah.
Out of the two, I think Living Daylights just has that little bit more for the scene, but the alternate take of the Living Daylights is even better. Again, if we can count that, but obviously I don't think.
Yeah, man. I think it's like when they didn't even do it in Quantum of Solace. They were just like, let's just give it a bit of a rest for a film, which I'm still not sure how I feel about. I feel like you could have stuck it in because they said it's like, oh, you were just doing it for the sake of it. Yes, please. Like we look forward to that moment. So do it for the sake of it. You know what I mean? He hasn't said his name like that for 20 odd movies just for any other reason than for the sake of it, because that's what he does. But this one's a bit understated, isn't it? It's almost like they've gone down that route of like not making it a feature of the film. Like with the Brosnan Bond, James Bond, that's going to be in every trailer. That's a trailer moment delivery. I mean, Jesus Christ, you've got him at the casino table in GoldenEye. You've got him at the news kickoff party thing, which is like the camera like zooms it to him, and it's almost like the crowd's part when he says it. You've got the god awful one in The World Is Not Enough with the thing.
Oh no, yeah.
Just let's not even go there. And then Die Another Day, I can't even remember how he says it in Die Another Day because it's been too long. But I'm sure it was in the trailer at some point. Whereas this is a very understated moment. So I wonder if that was a creative choice to be like, this is a different feel. So let's just change those tropes a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And I think it must have been. I think it definitely was. And I think, it works, I think. But there we are. So there's Timmy D's delivery. Now, on to the next one is onto Vodka Martini, ordering a Vodka Martini. Now, what do we think about this one? Okay,
so when does it happen in The Living Daylights?
So in The Living Daylights, there's a couple of times where he doesn't necessarily, he says the line shaken not stirred rather than he orders the actual thing. So it's when he goes to that hotel in Vienna and he's speaking to Hans, but not Hans from Blofeld's henchman, Hans, the guy behind the desk. And Hans says he obviously been there before because he mentions about the honeymoon suite or whatever, and he's like, no, two beds or whatever. And he's like, Hans says, shall I send up vodka martinis, or shall I have some vodka martinis sent up? And then Bond is like, shaken, not stirred. So he
has a pause
gets
in there,
that.
doesn't he?
Yeah. So he loves a pause. And then later on, I think Cara makes a vodka martini for him. And what does he say, Tom?
He says, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, he loves it. So he doesn't really get a proper order in, but he gets his shaken, not stirred in.
So he doesn't mind a dose of the odd chloral hydrate in his vodka martini. It actually aids the flavour nicely.
Yeah. So I've heard. And then License to Kill, in fact, he kind of. So do you remember there's that bit in the casino with Pam and
and he almost like spits it out, doesn't he? Shaken, not stirred.
That's it, and I quite like that.
I like that. That's my favourite.
Yeah,
one. I like that. Yeah,
definitely, because he kind of says, "Miss Kennedy, will you get me a medium vodka martini?" And she's like, "Well, why don't you ask?" And before she's even finished, she's like, "Shaken, not stirred." Yeah, that's really good. And then obviously puts her in a place, and then she knows that obviously Loopy is someone important that he's got to speak to, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like that, because that to me is the real that is Fleming's Bond. That's the bitch is dead Fleming's Bond coming out with something like that. There's that line where he says, "We're south of the border, it's a man's world. Get yourself some decent clothes." I love that stuff. You know what I mean? And this is like I could almost feel that coming out of one of the books there. That gets my vote as the greatest shaken not stirred moment.
I think so. And then Pam obviously has to go to the bartender to order one. Now, is that the only time? I think there's quite a few times. No, because obviously in fact, there must be quite a few. Triple X orders him a vodka martini, doesn't she, in Spy and stuff like that. So it probably happens a few times, I think. So there we are. There's Timmy D. I reckon definitely License to Kill out of those two. Now we're going on to the deep scenes here, Tom. We're talking about Bond and M. Now, when we were looking at these, what struck me is that you remember the License to Kill M scene because it's a big, powerful scene.
Yeah.
But then you realise he's only in one scene in License to Kill, whereas in Living Daylights he's in like 3 or 4 scenes, which is quite interesting, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, because you often get that, don't you? So typically, M's there at the beginning to say, "Here's the situation. Here's the bad guy, or here's what you've got to go and investigate. Right, bugger off and do it." And it's the good. It gives you a bit of exposition, so we know what's happening. We find out in Spectre that the 00 section is under threat. Blah blah blah. Financial cutbacks and all that kind of stuff. So we're like, okay, there's the scene set. Now we can get on with the first part of the mish. Living Daylights, he does crop. Typically, throughout a lot of the Roger years, he'll show up again at the end.
And sometimes in the middle as well.
And sometimes in the middle, like Spy Love Me, for example. He crops up.
Moonraker.
And all that kind of stuff. And so he does throughout the Living Daylights, is when Koskov gets snatched back and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, do you know what? Until you said that, I hadn't actually considered that is M's one and only bit, isn't it?
In License, yeah, which is interesting. It's like you don't normally get that.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at the M scenes in Daylight. So obviously we mentioned the pre-title sequence, and I quite like that because it sets it up well. He's like, the SAS have been placed on full alert to intercept you, but I know you won't let me down. Good luck, man. Now, when we're growing up as British lads, and you hear SAS, to you, that means they are the best fighting force in the world.
Yeah.
Being Brits, that's what we're told, isn't it? We're like, the SAS, no one in the world is better than the SAS. If you want a job done around the world, basically hire the SAS. Now, when in this film you see that the 00 agents are up against the SAS, you kind of know that, oh, hang on a minute, this is not going to be easy. These guys are hardcore. Did that ever come across to you or not?
I remember being at school and having conversations with people about how good the SAS were, and it would be like, well, what about the Navy SEALs, which is obviously the US counterpart of the the version of the Navy of the SAS, and I was strictly of the opinion that no, the SAS are the best of the best, the elite of the elite, and they'd wipe their bottoms with the Navy SEALs or whoever else was picking a fight. I've heard
total patriotism.
Absolutely, and I've heard stories about like that they can walk on sand without leaving footprints and all these kinds of things.
Oh, it's mythical, man.
Yeah,
it's mythical.
It does. Yeah, like where they can do these things that like that seem like whoa, you know what I mean? And I did go pretty deep on it at one stage. I remember. Do you remember like the Bravo 20 book and all that kind of stuff about the first Iraq War?
Brilliant.
Those books are amazing, dude. There's basically, just to briefly segue, there was like a particular behind the scenes mish in Iraq, first Iraq War, and then the mission goes wrong, and there were several survivors. Andy McNabb, I think, was the most famous one when he wrote Bravo 20. He got captured. There was another one who just literally got separated and walked out of the country, kind of thing. Just like he would burrow down during the daylight hours and just stay there in a ditch all day and wait. And as soon as it got dark, he'd get up and just yomp across the country. And there's all these different stories of the same mission. So if you haven't heard that, definitely read Bravo 20 and explore some of the others if you enjoy it. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, growing up, the SAS with the dog's bollocks, and to hear that they're second to the 00 section here, which I assume they are because they just are.
Totally.
I'm not taking any arguments on that one. That makes me feel good.
The SBS, though, did you ever get the cocky one that says, well, the SBS are even better than the SAS?
Yeah.
And then this other person said, well, what the hell's the SBS? And they're like, special boat service. Come on.
Do you know what this reminds me of? That scene in Extras with old Grant Mitchell from EastEnders, super army soldiers. That does amuse me a lot. Yeah, I must have had a million conversations like that in my school days about those dudes. But yeah, absolutely, 00s versus the SAS. I like it.
And it's really cool then when he's obviously proud of the 00 section, and then the door goes down. He sort of says, good luck. The door goes down and all his paperwork goes in. He's like, oh, blast. And it's a really nice little moment. That it's not a big scene, but I think it works well with them. So on to the second scene with them. So this one, they're in the Bladen safe house. Bond joins M, Frederick Gray, and obviously Koskov in the drawing room. And M sort of he's not too keen on Bond buying that, extra expensive champagne and all that sort of thing. But in this basic scene, it's basically in this scene, it's Koskov telling them about Schmidt-Spionum, about General Pushkin, that's why he's defecting, and about all of this sort of stuff. And I guess during that time, and Frederick Grey and Bond are pretty much just taking that in, aren't they?
Yeah.
But there is one moment where Koskov has a list. He's got the list of agents with the names on it, and he goes to give it to, I think it's either M or Frederick Grey, I can't remember which one now, and then just as they go to grab it, Koskov takes it back again and then gives it to them, and it's a cool little moment, and I can't remember if it's M or Frederick Grey, but it's a really nice, it's a cool little bit. What do you think of this scene then?
Yeah, what I enjoy about this is you get the two sides of it, don't you? So obviously this is the bit where Koskov is giving them all the Billy Bollocks just to, do what he's really after. And then after he gets snatched back, you get the other side of it, of like they've been drawn into this thing about Pushkin, and Bond's going to be sent off and all that kind of stuff, to laughing stock of the intelligence community, which is cool. I do like it, and what I really like about that is how boisterous Koskov gets, and he's like slapping Bond on the back and hugging him and all this kind of over the top stuff, and you just see how sort of like irritated Bond is by that, where he just gives him that little side eye, and he's just like. He doesn't like it. It's nice.
Totally. Yeah, no, that works really well. And then basically M sort of says they should consult with higher authority after they've heard it. So they go. But then there's the next scene. Now, this one is really good. So this one is in MI6. Bond goes to see M. Obviously, Frederick Grey, that's the whole laughing stock community type thing. So Bond is not keen on the idea of taking Pushkin out. He sort of knows him and doesn't believe Koskov one bit. And M's pretty much, I know this guy as well. But he reminds Bond that Bond's name was on Pushkin's list as well. And then he gives him that little Schmidt-Spionum tag from 004's, the one that was found near 004. And some people say Robert Brown's quite a light M, and I guess he is in certain parts, but obviously in License to Kill, and I think in this particular scene in Living Daylights, he really hits home with a bit more oomph about him, if you know what I mean. He's got a bit more grunt and a bit more insistent, shall we say? Yeah,
a bit more grunt. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, because I've always thought if I was a 00, I would be scared of pissing off Bernard Lee's M. Like, I know he's so no nonsense that when you read the M of the books, where Bond gets called into the office and he's fucking with his pipe and all that kind of stuff, and just being a bit grumpy with Bond and all the rest of it. That to me, I absolutely do picture Bernard Lee as M when I'm reading those books. I have a kind of faceless dude that I picture as Bond kind of thing, where you never
not
quite
yourself.
Sometimes I do, but yeah, I have that something different. But it's definitely Bernard Lee's M that I see, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I always think of that scene in Thunderball, for example, where the dude where Bond says, "Oh, I saw," I forget what Bond says now, but he says something like. I saw. Oh no, it's at the Shrublands, isn't it? Where he saw the geezer leaving. And then he's like, "Impossible, he was dead." Blah blah blah, and M sticks up for him, and he says, "if 007 sees it, that's good enough for me to investigate." That to me feels like the M from the books. Robert Brown, when he takes over, he's just a bit friendlier looking, isn't he? He's got the nice bushy eyebrows and he looks nice. And I can imagine going to Robert Brown's house for a nice cup of tea and a chit chat. But there are some times when he does get bulldog-like, which is how I would describe Bernard Lee's M. He's like a little stocky bulldog man. And with Robert Brown's M, I would say the Hemingway house in License to Kill, absolutely, like he's full on in M mode in there, and I'm a bit scared of him there, and I wouldn't want to piss him off too much. But yeah, he does show it when he needs to be. I think with Timmy, he's definitely more the crusty old M, more leaning toward a Bernard Lee style M than he is with the Roger, I would say. Which is probably suiting of the type of film, and obviously Tim's type of Bond as well. Yeah. Because there's that whole bit where he's like, right, he's going to recall 008 from Hong Kong. He doesn't know Pushkin. He'll do the job. Yeah. And so he's more than happy to put Bond out of the mission sort of thing. But then Bond comes back with the, no, sir, if it has to be done, I'm going to do it type thing. And that's lovely. And that's Bond. When he says no, he says it quite angrily and quite abruptly. It's like a no. isn't it?
Yeah, and then he almost kind of says, "Oh shit, I've just said it a bit like that," and then he says, "Sir," after the pause, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so nice the way that Tim did that, and I think that works really well. And so, yeah, superb scene, that one. And then following that, we get his fourth and final scene at the end. So this is at the conservatoire after Kara's done a little cello piece. And he's there with old General Gogol. That's his best pal, isn't he?
Yeah.
Talking about immigration visa for Kara, and then Cameron Shah and his men rock up, and there you return to the light-hearted M when Cameron Shah sort of says, "Oh, we had trouble at the airport," and M says,
"Can't imagine why." Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's straight out of a Roger film almost, isn't it? That little bit.
Yeah.
So he is back to the light-hearted bit. But I like that M Gogol sort of relationship. It's quite cool, and it's done quite well. And then M basically says, unhappily, Bond is on an assignment, so Kara has to she's a bit upset, isn't she? And has to return to her room. Yeah. So there we go. So yeah, M in Living Daylights. Now, what do we think of the License to Kill scene? As we said, it's only the one scene, Hemingway House.
Yeah, this is
a belter, isn't it?
This is a really good one. This to me, I feel like this is the M from the Fleming books as well. That kind of, spare me the sentimental rubbish and all this kind of stuff. M, when he's pissed off, is like, by the very nature of the character, is quite intimidating, because M is going to be a man of few words, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, you would never. There's actually a line in Forever and a Day, actually, which isn't a spoiler in any way, so don't worry. But it's basically Bill Tanner sort of reflecting on his relationship with M and how he'd known him for years, but if they were to go down the pub together, they would talk about nothing but work. It's like no pleasant personal chit chat, and that's
butterflies.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, but yeah, there's nothing. It's just all business with them, I think. And it's
totally.
Yeah, and it's like this is a snapshot of what happens when you really piss him off. You piss him off a bit in Spectre, but he still knows there's something going on, and he obviously officially has to try and rein Bond in, but he kind of knows something's up. Whereas this time he's really pissed him off, and it's kind of nice to see the boundaries of that relationship explored a bit, isn't it? That's what I really like about that.
Totally. Well, this is where it's pushed to the edge, isn't it? He Bond says he's going to hand in his resignation, and M's like, yeah, go, all right, fine, effective immediately. Hand over your weapon and stuff, and that's it. So he was, he knows Bond is his best agent, but he's not going to take any of this shit. He wasn't in his mission in Istanbul, He's not playing by the rule book, is he? Yeah. So M is happy just to. Well, it's quite nice because he's obviously pissed off M. He's like, right, that's it, hand me your weapon, sort of thing. But then as Bond sort of jumps over, he sort of tells the guys not to shoot, and then he gives him a nice good luck, Commander, or is it God help you, Commander, or something like that. But that he's thinking of Bond, so you have got that nice little bit at the end. But that scene, I think, is brilliant. It's one that sticks in the mind, and I think if you're going to choose. We never have done this before, I don't think. But if you were going to choose a top 5 Bond M scene out of the series, this would 100% be in the top 5.
It would be. I am in full agreement of that. Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of them are very similar, aren't they? Like, especially the early ones throughout most of Sean and Roger's kind of tenure. It's that thing where you set the scene at the beginning and all that kind of stuff, and then he's a bit shocked at the end when he sees him in bed with some lady. But this one is a very different beast, and this 100% would be a standout M scene for sure. Yeah, I suppose that's going to be another podcast, isn't it, where we go through all the M scenes bit by bit and sort of choose like the standout moments. But that's definitely one, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so moving on then, we're going to look at the Q scenes, and we will start with Bond and Q in the Living Daylights. So these are two kind of shortish scenes. They're both set in sort of MI6, but we get Q Lab, we get some gadgets, we get some sort of mini explosions, we get a lot of good humour. So opening up with the first scene in Daylights, he's basically he's chatting with Bond. They're sitting down, having a coffee, looking at female assassins. You got one that likes this massive sort of wrestler that likes to strangle with their hands or thighs. And then you got the little child impersonating with the explosive teddy bear, which is bloody brilliant.
Explosive teddy bears.
It's so good, isn't it? And it kind of mirrors, because the teddy bear is obviously like a childlike thing, but it kind of mirrors the milk bottle explosive later on, just in terms of it's such a unlikely object, isn't it? And I love that, and obviously Moneypenny sort of joins him a bit, and then he gets so excited, doesn't he, Q? And he's like, something we're making for the Americans. It's called a ghetto blaster.
Yeah.
And he loves it, doesn't he?
I tell you what I really like about this, which is a bit different, right? And I think this goes across the board for both the Timmy films. This Q isn't as sort of standoffish with Bond, is he? Like, he has so much contempt for Sean. He has so much contempt for Roger, probably more contempt for Roger than Sean, I would say. George, they have a tender moment at the wedding and stuff, don't they? You know,
yeah, that's nice.
And you know, I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but and then he gets cut off. Whereas with Tim, he's very, like you say, he's very excitable, and he's like, he can't wait to show him his gadgets this time around. Yeah. And then obviously their relationship in License to Kill goes another step further. But it's kind of like, I feel like the relationships with these characters, like these standard kind of supporting characters, it has to change a little bit depending on the actor involved. You know, it's like we always said about Moneypenny, wasn't it? How, you know, there's a real animal attraction between Lois Maxwell and Sean Connery, but with Roger and Lois Maxwell, it's more of like a brother-sisterly kind of relationship, isn't it?
Definitely.
And I think Q to Timmy, again, is different in that way, where he's more of like the excited uncle who's showing off his cool toys.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yeah,
rather than sort of like, oh God, 007, you know, blah blah blah. So it's quite different, yeah.
It is, but it works well as well, and it puts a smile on your face, doesn't it? It really does. So in the sort of second scene, then, that's right, yeah. Bond sort of goes to the Q lab, and Q's winterizing his Aston V8 and bumps his head. Is quite a nice little moment, and then this is where he gives him the gadget. So you've got that sort of really cool Phillips keyring, and you've got opens 90% of the world locks. You've got the stun gas. You've got the packed with full of explosives and all that, and you get it's a really cool scene. This when he's sort of showing him all the little moments. Do you like this bit? What do you think of this bit?
I think this is one of those things like when you reinvent Bond for a new person, there are new things you have to do. There are certainly different things you have to do. I suppose most famously, a lot of people would talk about how they switched up Roger. You know, no Dickie Bow and stuff in Live and Let Die, and not ordering a vodka martini and using a revolver mainly, and
cigars instead of cigarettes.
Yeah, all those kinds of things, just to give it its own identity a little bit. And you have to kind of mix things up a bit when you bring a new person in. But with Timmy, especially in being more kind of serious and more Fleming-y, I do think you have to keep it also some things rooted in the traditional. And I think in terms of the movie Bond, and I think the Q scene is definitely one of them. The whole car chase on the ice and all that kind of stuff is the other major one, I would say, for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, this to me is like a classic Q scene with a more jovial and friendly to Bond Q than we're used to.
It's quite similar to the GoldenEye one, I think, isn't it? Like in terms of the feel and everything and the chattiness, it's quite a similar relationship, I think, in that one. But I tell you, there is one really cool bit where, so after he sort of explained about the keyring, Q, someone goes to sit down on the sofa and it folds in and they disappear, and then Q sits down and you can tell he's having fun, isn't he?
Well, yeah,
and I love that bit.
Do you know what? That's the bit I often get confused with GoldenEye. I would, like you say, they are very similar in feel. That even the sort of layout of his workshop just feels like it's the same set almost.
Yeah.
And I, as you know, when you see Pierce walking around in GoldenEye and you've got the dude shooting off the back of the car in the background and all the stuff going on in the background, I often have to think, hold on, which is the one with the sofa in? Is that Living Daylights or is that GoldenEye? So yeah, that is a memorable moment. I would like one of those sofas actually.
Oh, I totally would. Yeah. Would you tell anyone or just watch and laugh?
Absolutely not. I would watch and laugh for sure. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so rocking on to License to Kill now. We're both huge fans. I think everyone listening is a huge fan of Q in License to Kill. He gets so much screen time and he is brilliant. And he has so many scenes as well. So go on. What do you think? Q in License to Kill, it's just brilliant, isn't it? It elevates it so much.
Yeah, I love a lot of the Q scenes. When it comes to Desmond, I can't help but have a smile on my face whenever he's on the screen. I love him. There are so many classic standout moments for Q. You know, that's putting it mildly. 007, that always puts a smile on my face. You know, even if I'm watching Octopus and I'm in a foul mood, that scene will make me smile, you know. And, you know, I love the thing where he shows up in Thunderball and Bond's like, oh no, as soon as he walks through the door. There's so many cool moments with Desmond. But I think this has to be his finest hour. You know, it really is. Like to see him, you know, I wouldn't want to see this in every film, but him being out in the field and all that kind of stuff. And I'm glad they kind of didn't do that and they kind of just sort of did it at once. I have a feeling we will probably get that more in the modern films. Like I'm sure we'll see more of Q out and about in the field in Bond 25, for example. But yeah, man, I absolutely love this. And I love how it kind of follows along, doesn't it? In the sense that, you know, Bond's gone rogue, Q's sitting there back at home, and he's like, he knows he's all alone. He doesn't have Bond doesn't have the support of anything MI6 behind him anymore. So he's got to go out there and help him. And I do really like that. You know, that plays into that sort of uncle feel that you get from
totally.
Dallas. And of course, he plays his uncle in this, doesn't he? That's his kind of his cover. He must be related.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. Yeah, I love the whole Q business in License to Kill.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're just going through some of the quick scenes. The first one's great, isn't it? So the first time we meet Q, they said, we put your uncle in your suite sort of thing, and he goes to open the door with his gun and shoves poor old Desmond back, and he falls in the chair. What the hell are you doing, Q? I could have killed you, sort of thing. And like, that's so good. And again, he's just really jovial, isn't he, Q, in this scene? And he's showing the whole everything for a man on holiday and all that sort of stuff, and the great gadgets as well in this scene. And then Pam rocks up, and obviously they do the whole cousin uncle line, and then Pam uses the Polaroid with the laser. And Q's, stop touching stuff you don't understand. Yeah. And that's quite cool. She's obviously can still get a bit agitated and stuff. But the end of that first scene is so good, isn't it? So Bond's like, oh, come on, everyone's tired. Let's just go for a bit of kip. And he's like, right, good night, Q, whatever. And then you see obviously Pam just closing the door. Sweet dreams, Mr. Bond. And there's that bit where he just looks for one door, looks at the other, looks back. I hope you don't snork, you, and then it goes off to sea. It's so good, isn't it? I
would love to be a fly on the wall in that bedroom, man. There's Bond in his little single bed next to Q in his little single bed, and like what the conversation would have been as they drift off to sleep.
Do you think they would just completely like? Do you think Q wears pajamas? He wouldn't just be a boxer person. He would definitely wear pajamas, wouldn't he?
Definitely wear pajamas, 100%. And don't forget, this is the 80s. So I imagine in those days, Bond was wearing pants. I would imagine he's a boxer man in these days, but he would definitely be wearing briefs in the 80s, I think. You know, like budgie smugglers, you know, that kind of style.
So you've got Bond in his briefs, you've got Desmond in his full pajama outfit. Now, do they, once they've brushed their teeth and they're sitting in their bed, do they have a little chat, or do they just go good night and then turn off the light and then sort of wait to see who falls asleep first?
Do you know what I imagine it is? I imagine it's extremely awkward for a few minutes while they're brushing their teeth. And I imagine Bond is a bit moody and he gets into bed and tries to go to sleep straight away, and Q keeps him up for about an hour just chatting about stuff.
I reckon totally, man. That's great. Poor old Bond. And then he wakes up and he's knackered. Okay, so on to the second scene. So Bond, this time he goes back to his hotel room, and he's obviously the second scene is Q as his chauffeur, isn't he? So he's obviously been driving around in the Rolls, and Bond basically tells him, you're a hell of a field operative, now go, I don't need you anymore. And you can see how visibly disappointed Q is. He's enjoyed his time out there so far. And then we see Bond, he goes back to the hotel room and asks Q why isn't he gone. He's told him to go on. He grabs Pam, brings her into the bedroom and says, I saw you with Hella, you're working for Sanchez. She's like, no. And then he obviously finds out that Leiter gave her a letter granting Hello immunity, but obviously he didn't get Sanchez and it didn't go through. And he realizes, shit, man, I'm gonna need some help. And then he goes back and he tells Q, right, bring the rolls round to the front. And he's like, yes, sir. And again, it's like, Desmond, man, you're absolutely a star. And then we get a bit more where he's a bit more outside. So we get him Q when they with the boat by the harbour pilot, aren't they? And you get Q helping Bond and stuff. While Pam goes aboard, and then he sort of cuts that rope so Bond can pull in the money and do that. So he's sort of helping them there. which is really good. And then Bond says, okay, enough is enough. Thanks for your help, but I'm better working alone. I'll see you in Miami, sort of thing. And then later on, there's a brief scene with Q and Pam when Lupe comes back, and he has that brilliant line, doesn't he? Where she leaves, and then Pam kind of goes, well, she's just pissed off at Bond. Yes, right, that's it. And then what does Q say?
What I really love about it, he says, look, don't judge him too harshly, my dear. Field operatives must often use every means at their disposal to achieve their objectives. I love that because Q is like being the ultimate wingman for Bond. You know what I mean? Q's like, oh, okay, I know what Bond's been up to, but I have to smooth it over with this one because I know he's obviously tending this particular garden as well,
That's a great way of putting it. But it's the sort of thing where we're meant to be describing Tim here, and Tim's Bond. Now, he's not in that scene, but you still have to talk about it because of the relationship of Q and Bond, and that comes across so well. And then you get that brief little moment where Q's in disguise as a road sweeper, which is great. Oh, such a short scene, but it's so cool. Does this little thing on the broom and then chucks it away. And then at the end, you get him see him in a DJ, and he's sort of having a chat and some champers with Pam, and then you can see him kissing Lupe and rolling his eyes. Oh God, here we go. And then when he jumps over, he rushes over just to make sure Bond's all right. And yeah, man, I love Desmond. Q is brilliant in License to Kill.
I would say, I'm sure we will do, a Q sort of special where we go through every single moment of Q and discuss them all. Have we already done that? Is that something we've done? We did the gadgets of Bond, didn't we?
We've done the gadgets,
which obviously came along. But we've done so many now, it's hard to keep track. But I would say this has to be Desmond's finest hour as Q. Yeah. I think
without a doubt, it's got to be, hasn't it? And there's so many good moments, so many comic moments, and I think it has to be hands down.
Beautiful stuff.
There we are. Okay, so moving on to Moneypenny and Bond. Now, we've got the two scenes in Daylights where she kind of shares the same sort of screen time as Desmond in similar sort of scenes. So when they're talking about the female assassins and he mentions the strangulation with her hands or thighs, she goes, why, James? She's just your type. And sort of comes in. And then she mentions that M wants him at the safe house with Bladen and to pick up a package from Harrods. And Bond basically asks her on the slides, this is quite interesting, just to check out of cellists from the Conservatoire in Bratislava. And she's like, I didn't know you're a music lover, James. Anytime you want to come over and listen to my Barry Manilow collection.
Do you know what I think that is? Right. I think what old Caroline Bliss has done there, she's got what I call perfect Austin Powers delivery. Right. When Austin Powers, he says a line, he does a little pause and just, it's that, if you want to drop by and listen to my Barry Manilow collection. Do you know what I mean? It's that. She's got it to a T. Yeah. I'm very impressed with that.
She totally has. Yeah. And then Bond, he just basically puts her glasses back on askew and then like slaps her on the ass, gives her a nice pat on the ass as she walks away.
Days, mate. So, you wouldn't get away with that in this day and age, would you?
No. Well, you'd be locked up last time I did it, but it wasn't for long, so it's all right. And then the latest scene, worth it indeed, yeah. We get, so Moneypenny, he goes back to see her and this is where she tells him a bit about Cara Malovi and where she's next playing. And then Bond asks for travel documents to Tangier via Bratislava. But this is just between the two of us. So it's like, don't tell M. So it's very much like Spectre when Bond and Q, Q sort of helps him and he's like, don't tell M. So why do you think Bond doesn't want M to know, that he's going to Bratislava via Tangier? Why is it only for Moneypenny to know?
So M wants him to go to Tangier to get Pushkin, isn't it? Is that what? And he's going via Bratislava first, so he can investigate Cara. Is that what the dealio is? Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's basically, don't let M know that I'm going to Bratislava because he thinks I'm going. Yeah. Because he thinks I want to go to kill Pushkin, but actually I'm doing this bit on the side. Exactly. So that's quite nice, isn't it? He trusts Moneypenny then, because Moneypenny's M's secretary. Yeah. So he trusts her not to say, and I think she'd have his back in that moment as well. Equally like Q in License to Kill, I think Moneypenny would have Bond's back in that as well. Yeah, because I tell you why that he's done that obviously because M. He's obviously ordered him to go and sort Pushkin out, and M knows he doesn't particularly want to do that. Yeah. But at the same time, he knows that, he deliberately missed the girl with the cello, and if he's bombing off to Bratislava en route for a quick one, M's immediately going to think, oh, come on, you're not doing your job, that kind of thing. But obviously he has, better intentions than that. Well, I won't say better. I'll just say different intentions.
Different.
But just let it happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But there you go. So yeah, it's nice. I do like that stuff. It's a similar one, to bring it back to Spectre again, when, he gets Q to like make him disappear for 48 hours or whatever it is. And is Q still his man back at base, even though he's going behind M's back and all that kind of stuff. It's nice that he has that little support group there that just, they don't perhaps like it, especially Q, but they will do it for Bond.
Yeah. I wonder if they do that for every 00, or is it purely because Bond is Bond? He's important enough that, we'll look after this guy. Whereas some of the other maybe they do it for all the 00s, but just not anyone else. Who knows? Yeah. Okay, so then the Moneypenny scene in License to Kill then is a very quick scene, and Bond's not even in this one. So this is basically Moneypenny's been trying to look for Bond, hasn't she? And says about she's been checking with US immigration, and M comes in. What's wrong with you? There's several errors on this report or whatever. And then M finds out and tells Moneypenny, Bond's going to go after Sanchez and that he must be stopped. So again, M's like, he's obviously knows what Bond's up to, but he's not keen on it. And he says that he's alerted his man in Ithras.
So am I right in thinking you don't see Bond and Moneypenny together in this film at all?
No, I don't believe you do, no.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
is that a unique thing? Because I feel like you always see them together in all the others. I can't think of any others.
It must be. I think it must be. Yeah.
That's an interesting little nugget. Isn't
it is. Yeah, for sure. And then, because she's not in it at the end, is it? Because Leiter talks about M, and M's not in it anymore. So, that must be the only one. And then that bit where obviously Emma said, right, Bond's got to be stopped. M leaves, and then straight on, Moneypenny's on the phone to Q Branch, which again is like she's worried about Bond. She wants to make sure her man is all right, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's quite a nice little bit as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, so now we've gone through the MI6 family with Tim, and now we're going to go onto the films and do a bit of dialogue, Tommy. We're going to go through some of the scenes. Now, obviously, we couldn't do the whole film because we'll be here for ages.
Yeah.
But I thought there were some certain lines which I think are great, which showcase Bond in a really interesting light, and also there's some just killer scenes which I thought we have to do.
All right, here we go.
It's all so boring here, Margot. There's nothing but playboys and tennis pros. If only I could find a real man.
I need to use your phone. She'll call you back.
Who are you?
Bond, James Bond. Exercise Control 007 here. I'll report in an hour.
Won't you join me?
Better make that 2.
That, my friend, is, as much as I prefer the delivery in the trailer, that is what I need from my Bond. That's what I always say. I need him to be a ladies' man. I need him to be a lover man. And that, to me, is a perfect mixture between business-like Bond, and then on the flip side of the coin, he's caught off guard a little bit, and he's like, actually, if I can squeeze in an extra hour here, I can have a little bit of fun on the side.
It's like From Russia with Love, isn't it? After the punting scene, and he gives himself a little bit more time as well, and she's like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so in Bond 25, would you like to see Daniel doing something similar?
Yes, I would. When you say something similar, what do you mean exactly?
Well, like, for instance, in Spectre, he was with Estrella, but nothing ever happened. And do you think there is potential that something should or shouldn't happen? Or maybe in that scene he
snog, didn't they?
And he did have to sort of go out on the window, which was quite cool because she was kind of just left there. So it was better that nothing happened then. But in terms of that scene, so we get a brilliant pre-title scene in Bond 25, and Daniel ends up in whatever scenario he is next to a beautiful woman or whatever, and thinks, well, hang on a minute, actually I've got a bit of time now to kill or whatever. I don't know, what do you think? Or is that too much of the past? Could that still work these days?
I want more of that, right? One of my complaints about Spectre was in one of the the leaked scripts, that scene where he's in his house and Moneypenny comes to drop the stuff off. he was originally going to be in his robe, and we saw pictures of that, didn't we? I think in the lead up to the film of him wearing a robe, and obviously in the film we saw he's got just the shirt sleeves on with his shoulder holster, which I do like that look, man. Anything that calls back,
is good.
Like we talked about recently with Pierce in Tomorrow Never Dies in the hotel room. That look is brilliant. I really like that. It goes all the way back to Dr. No, doesn't it? With when he shoots Dent. But in that room, Moneypenny was going to hand over the books, and then you'd hear a lady's voice from the bedroom going, "James, come back to bed." Oh, please! Why did you not do that?
And you know what? That would have been an absolutely perfect. Because you know how Mickey G has so many cameos.
Yeah,
that would have been a perfect cameo for Barbara,
wouldn't
if
it?
you'd actually had her voice.
Yeah.
How cool would that have been, man?
That would have been a beauty. And I do miss those days, man. I miss those days where Bond is an absolute lover, man. And he just plows through them all day long, left, right and centre. And, he breaks any heart without regrets, and I would love to see more of that, And
I suppose you had that little bit in Skyfall, didn't he? When you think he's dead, and then when you see him, he's with the I don't know, I've forgotten her name, but he's with someone.
On the beach.
And then before he goes and has his scorpion sort of drink thing. So there is a little bit of that, and in Quantum as well, you get the little bit with Strawberry Fields and stuff. But it's not been as sort of prominent, I guess, as sort of previous times. But
do you know what? One of my favourite things in Majesties is where he's work's piling up and it's like 7, or is it like 6, 7? As she walks by, all that stuff, man. That's ultimately Bond is, or at least has been historically, the ultimate male fantasy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's what every man wants to be. You want to be as cool as Bond, and a part of that is all the Bond ladies. Do you know what I mean? It just is. It's a fact. And I do worry that they may try and euthanize that a little bit in modern days, because we're in modern times now and all that business. But come on. It's a film. Let us have it. That's what I say.
Well, let's flip it around a bit. Let's have a woman who sleeps with a load of guys, and she's the one that abuses James, or uses and abuses.
Spanks him.
That's a whole new scene altogether.
Woman talk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why not? You could definitely do something like that these days. But anyway, we'll see. Okay, should we go on to the next bit of dialogue?
Let's do it.
Saunders, head of Section V, Vienna. You're bloody late. This is a mission, not a fancy dress ball.
We have time. Where's our man?
In the box, between the KGB minders.
Lovely girl with a cello.
Forget the ladies for once, Bond. Koskov will leave the concert at the interval. You better go.
Do you know what I like about that is there's something about somebody like Saunders, I think, is the perfect foil for Bond, in the sense that he's such a by the book little tosser. Do you know what I mean? That you put someone who with like that with Bond, who's just all about getting the job done in as cool and interesting way as possible, rather than just by the book. And I think that's a lovely playoff between the two of them. It's really nice.
And the fact that you see their relationship almost blossom, and by the end of it, when they finally got respect from each other, that's when obviously he gets killed, going off from this really frosty bit at the start. And it also shows that Bond is so professional. He knows exactly what's going on. When he talks about turning off the lights, Saunders might be an intelligent guy, but he's not been in situations like this, like Bond has before. And you know that Bond has got total control. Yeah. And I think he's great. Those two are such good sort of playing off each other.
Yeah. Nicely done. So next up we have...
Where is he?
In the boot.
First place they'd look.
But my escape route.
Scrubbed. Get in the front.
James Bond.
Later, General. Lose them. I'll pick you up at the border, 2300 hours. Be there.
Where are you taking him? How will you get him out?
Sorry, old man. Section 26, paragraph 5. Need to know. Sure you understand.
Now, that is lovely, right? What I really enjoy about that, Chris, is the fact that Saunders has been such a job's worth throughout that whole sequence. You know, he's quoted Section 26, Paragraph 5 to Bond before, and then in such a lovely way, Bond just dishes it straight back up to him, pulls away in the car, leaves him standing in the middle of the street holding the sniper rifle.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? And he looks so lost, doesn't he, Saunders? As in, he's got this massive rifle and he's just stuck there. But yeah, it's such a brilliant moment. I think everyone watching that film is sort of cheering inside, just like, because no one likes a job's worth, do they, Tom? No one likes a job's worth. Absolutely not. And it's like,
Saunders is the traffic warden of the intelligence community. Just nobody likes a traffic warden, and that's what Saunders is. Yeah, absolutely. Totally. Good stuff. Next up, what have we got?
Okay, so next up we have...
I have no intention of leaving it at that, 007. I'm reporting to M that you deliberately missed. Your orders were to kill that sniper.
Stuff my orders. I only kill professionals. The girl didn't know one end of a rifle from the other. Go ahead, tell him what you want. If he fires me, I'll thank him for it. Whoever she was must have scared the living daylights out of her.
Now, we've got another scene here with Saunders and Tim. Now, this one is brilliant. Again, we get a lot of Fleming Bond here, isn't he? Mm-hmm. So, Saunders is obviously pissed off. He's just left Bond. He's like, right, I'm reporting to M that you deliberately missed. You know, he didn't shoot the sniper. And Timmy's delivery is so good. It's like...
go on. You speak, because I'm getting too excited. And I
think this moment where you get Timmy's eyes, you get the camera on him.
Yeah.
His delivery, his no-nonsense attitude, he's like, stuff my orders. And, like, he just couldn't give a shit. He just couldn't give a rat's ass at all. He's like, go ahead, tell him. If he fires me, I'll thank him for it. And he's like, he's great, isn't he? He's got a bit of rage in him.
Yeah.
But he's also just super cool in this scene. And he gets the title in at the end as well. Yeah. But it's just that look, you know, he's still in his DJ, he's got the eyes, he's just been like a cool
eyes, so man. Good. He is deadly. Yeah, that again, this is like you've lifted it straight from the pages of Fleming. Do you know what I mean? I love the fact that you've got somebody like Saunders there who just sees one level of what played out there. He's like, you deliberately missed, like blah, 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 right? Whereas Bond there has more information. He's like, his experience tells him she only killed professionals. She didn't know one end of the rifle from the other. And that's something Saunders didn't pick up on. All he's seeing there, there's the sniper up there. He's not seeing those details. No. And that's something that makes Bond the man that he is that he will pick up on that. Even from a distance, through a window right up there, through night vision goggles or whatever, he's still picked up on that. And I think that's a really classy little bit of line there just to show the man Bond is.
Yeah, and if Saunders had been the one tasked to shoot, he probably would have missed.
Yeah.
Not on purpose, but like he would have been trying to kill her, wouldn't he? Because he just would have thought, well, a sniper is a sniper sort of thing. But yeah, no, that's totally brilliant. And the fact that he's got the job done. Bond he doesn't care what happens now. Yeah. Doesn't care if M reports him. He doesn't care if Saunders has a go at him. He knows that Koskov is through in the pipeline and he's safe. But the girl is on his mind. Whoever she was must have scared the living daylight out of her. And like it just works, man, doesn't it? It just works.
Do you know what that could almost be? That could almost be like the last thing that's said before you go into the theme song. Do you know what I mean? If we hadn't already taken care of that in the perfect pre-title sequence, that line would have been the perfect thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. You'd have had scared the living daylights out of her. Car drives off into the distance, and then the song starts. That would have been the business. But, why mess with perfection anyway? Good stuff. So next up, what have we got?
We have got...
Here, wave this! Doc! We've nothing to declare!
That's the cello!
Now, this has got to be one of those scenes where you've got brilliant action, but you've got a really nice payoff at the end. And again, it makes you smile, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just it is Bondian. It's so
every time I go through an airport and you walk through the green "I have nothing to declare" customs line. You know, there's the red one where you do have something to declare, and then there's a green where you don't have. I say this to myself in my brain every single time I walk underneath that sign.
If someone asks you, is that how you reply it?
Absolutely,
well?
I've got my cello. I think this is another one of those funny ones, isn't it? Because again, super Fleming, but skidooing down a mountain on a cello case isn't Fleming, is it? That's movie Bond. You know, that's almost Roger Bond. Really,
it is actually. Yeah, you're right.
So it's let's think back. You got the car chase. You got the car going up on skis. You've got lasers coming out of the wheels to cut the other car in half. It's dancing close to being a Roger sequence. That it really is, and none more so than when they do the cello sequence. However, right. It is also the dog's bollocks. That cello skidooing sequence is a very memorable one. And I would say that ranks as one of those where the common person on the street who doesn't really know their Bond but has seen them over the years, like most people have, they would remember the cello going down the mountain sequence, I think.
Definitely. And it's interesting, isn't it? Those moments that are within the public psyche in terms of Bond, but outside of the Bond fan community. And there are definitely moments like that. Goldfinger's probably got loads of them, but the cello down the mountain is 100% one of them. Definitely
cool stuff. Okay, so next up, I think this next bit is potentially the strongest, most deadly bit of Timmy in both films. Maybe, I don't know, it's a strong statement, but I'd say it's deadly. But anyway, let's have a butcher's and then we'll talk about it.
Get in the bathroom and lock the door. Stay where you are. Get down on your knees. Put your hands behind your back.
You are professional. You do not kill without reason.
2 of our men are dead. Koskov's named you. Now why should I disobey my orders?
I am in the dark as much as you are. It is a question of trust. Who do you believe? Koskov or me?
If I trusted Koskov, we wouldn't be talking. But as long as you're alive, we'll never know what he's up to.
Then I must die.
Now, what do you think? Talk to me about that.
I mean, that is Bond doing his job. Sometimes we say Bond never sort of he's a bit fantastical sometimes, or he's a bit out there. But here we see Bond. He's been assigned to kill this guy, but he knows he's not going to kill him because he knows he's not in the wrong. And so he's going to go against his orders, but it's the professionalism that you see with Bond here. You see him, get on your knees, hands behind your head. He's got his gun pointing at him the whole time. He's in total control of this scene and of that moment. It's just, I think this is probably, okay, so there's been moments in License to Kill where he's in a deadlier situation. Obviously here, he's the one in control. But I think for me, again, it's pure Fleming, I think, in terms of, if you could convert like a scene from Fleming books, what it would come out in this sort of style, wouldn't it? Yeah. This sort of scene, he's deadly in this scene, Bond, but he does it so well, and it's so cool that it might even be, aside from, I mean, I love some of the action scenes in the film, but I think this might possibly be my favourite scene in the whole film. I like it. I love it that much.
More so than the pre-title sequence.
Apart from the pre-title sequence.
Yeah.
This would probably be my second favourite.
I know what you mean. I think this might be the single most Fleming-y representation of Bond we've seen on screen in the whole series.
I think so.
There are other ones when you get to the Daniel era and stuff, but this one, there is something so dark and classic and Fleming-y about it. I just think it is, when you read the Living Daylights short story, it's basically him camping out in this little bedsit apartment type thing, wait over the course of 4 or 5 nights, waiting for the man to try and do his defection, and he's waiting to take down the sniper and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically that, post sequence with Cara and Saunders and all that kind of stuff. And in the time where he's just hanging out in that room and just waiting basically for hours and hours, like there's a lot of thoughts that go through his head and stuff, and what he's going to do, and just thoughts on killing and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really good window into the mind of Fleming's Bond, in the darker side of Fleming's Bond. And I think that scene, obviously it's not an actual Fleming scene, but God damn it, man, it feels like one. It really does.
And just the chemistry between the two, and the delivery, and the fact is, it's a question of trust. Who do you believe, Koskov or me?
Yeah.
And then he's like, if I trusted Koskov, we wouldn't be talking. And that's so good, because it's true.
Yeah.
Pushkin wouldn't be alive if Bond believed him, would he?
What I also like about this is that there he is in this situation. It's either pull the trigger or don't.
Yeah.
And his direct orders from MR to pull that trigger, but he's not going to, because he knows there's something up. It's that thing of M ultimately does trust Bond, but there's always that thing where he gets pissed off that he's not following his orders, but then he's like, all right, you know better again. Do you know what I mean? You've done it. So yeah, it's nice. I do. That scene is very dark, and also you get the added bonus of a little bit of side boob as well, which is also very nice.
And very Fleming.
Indeed, yeah. Absolutely. You probably get the full boob in Fleming, with a very long, detailed description of said boobs.
Size, shape, yeah.
They'll probably be referenced as like a type of fruit to just give you an indication of size. Yeah,
that's a good one. And plumpness,
good stuff.
All that sort of stuff.
So, shall we crack on with some top moments from License to Kill?
Yes, let's do it. Okay, so first up we have...
Oh, James, I wanted you to have something. You know the tradition? The next one who catches this is the next one who...
No. Thanks, Stella. It's time I left.
Oh, James. Did I say something wrong?
He was married once. But it was a long time ago.
Okay, now that one is a very poignant moment, isn't it? Because what we have there is obviously a reference back to Tracy, which is something I suspect we're never going to see again, man, post-Daniel, because... until then, we still don't really know what Daniel's Bond is, whether he's just a total reboot, different dimension Bond. Will he eventually go on to fight Dr. No and Goldfinger in the future of his life? I don't know.
Well, not if the contracts are anything to go by.
Absolutely. But, in terms of the universe in which he dwells, and I kind of feel like his Bond is just its own thing in its own different total universe. So, I feel like whoever comes along next... I don't know whether we'll get a Tracy reference, man. I think it's rebooted now, but we'll see.
Who knows?
But yeah, man, I think it's always nice when you get that, like you get the reference in Spy Love Me, don't you? Where Roger shows a rare moment of being, not the Joker that we know him and love him for. You get the scene in For Your Eyes Only as well at the beginning with the gravestone that we visited recently. And then you got this one as well. And I think this one is probably the most powerful of those three.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seeing Tracy's grave is pretty powerful.
Well, yeah.
But this one is because it's that awkward thing, and it's like an old friend.
And she's got no idea, has she? She's obviously like, oh, James.
Yeah.
The one who catches this is the one who.
Yeah.
And you can tell, and the audience who are watching it know what he's been through, and he's like, no, thanks, it's time I left, sort of thing. And it is a brilliant scene, and I love the fact that they've included something like that in there.
Me too.
Yeah, so good.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Next up we have
There's $2 million in that suitcase. I'll split it with you. You earned it. You keep it. old buddy.
God, what a terrible waste of money.
Now, this little bad boy is Vengeance Bond, isn't it? I think we talked about this at length when we reviewed License. But yeah, that whole thing of there is old... I keep wanting to call him Pussfella, but it's Killifer, isn't it? I don't know why I get those mixed up. But Killifer's hanging on the rope and stuff. $2 million. And I would have to say, you know, if Sanchez came along and fed you to sharks, Chris, and I was like, right, I've got to go out on a vengeance mission now.
Thanks.
I have to be honest, I would think maybe I will keep that suitcase because $2 million is a heck of a chunk of dough, obviously. I'll still take down Killifer. You know, I'll throw something else at him, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Handful of maggots or something. But let me keep
There's got to be another chunk of meat somewhere.
Yeah,
that they can just chuck at him.
Precisely. But he's so bent on revenge. He does not care about that money. And it's such a more powerful death. You know what I mean? It's like when the old gangsters would be like, this is a message from blah, blah, blah before they pull the trigger. So they know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the vengeance on Killifer is that much more powerful because of that. But I must admit, I'm more in Sharky's camp in terms of how I feel about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
God, what a terrible waste
of
money. Yeah,
I love
he's great,
Sharky,
but
God bless
we
him.
got. Sharky, he's brilliant, and we got to remember Sharky saved Bond's life here because Killifer had him under gunpoint until he sort of lifted up the hatchway to get him out. But it is a great scene, and I think we mentioned this before, but I don't know if Bond blinks when he's looking at Killifer. I think he's just so full of rage, and he's staring at him, and like just that alone is enough to sort of put the willies up Killifer. I think he's it's such a good scene, and
as we often say with those wolf-like eyes, there are certain moments. I would say the first time we really see that is in Living Daylights after Saunders dies and he squeezes the balloon and you just see blind rage on his face. This is another one, like those eyes. I don't find Timothy Dalton that physically imposing. Like if Daniel barreled into me, I'd be like, holy shit, like how'd you deal with this? This is obviously a very muscular dude.
You just like hold him at arm's length and then he won't be able to hit you.
But with Timmy, I don't feel that physically sort of threatened by him. But then at the same time, I am very scared of him because if he was to look at me with those eyes, I'm just not quite sure what lengths he would go to take me down.
This is it. Yeah. This is it. I think there's underlying sort of rage can turn a man and make him go a bit crazy sort of thing. And I think Tim could definitely do that. Yeah. Timmy's Bond, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cracking. Okay, so what have we got for the next one?
Next up, we have...
You were supposed to be in Istanbul last night. I'm afraid this unfortunate lighter business has clouded your judgment. You have a job to do. I expect you on a plane this afternoon.
I haven't finished here, sir.
Leave it to the Americans. It's their mess. Let them clear it up.
Sir, they're not going to do anything. I owe it to Leiter. He's put his life on the line for me many times.
Oh, spare me this sentimental rubbish. He knew the risks.
And his wife?
This private vendetta of yours could easily compromise Her Majesty's government. You have an assignment, and I expect you to carry it out objectively and professionally.
Then you have my resignation, sir.
We're not a country club, 007. Effective immediately. Your license to kill is revoked, and I require you to hand over your weapon. Now, I need hardly remind you that you're still bound by the Official Secrets Act.
I guess it's a farewell to arms.
Mate, this is such a powerful one. I just like we said earlier on as we discussed it, seeing their relationship pushed to the very edge. And they've always been a bit grumpy with each other from time to time, haven't they? You know, now that we're all here, you know what I mean? He's always a bit like, oh, come on.
Man the Golden Gun, he's particularly grumpy towards Bond as well.
You know, and especially in Majesty's, where he takes him off Operation Bedlam, and you know Bond's totally pissed off, and he's going to resign then, and thankfully Moneypenny brings him round and all that kind of stuff. But this is the first time I feel like, you know, in Majesty's, Bond sort of stands there and bites his lip and doesn't say a lot, you know, and he's a good boy within the boundaries of their relationship. This time, Bond's not giving up, and he's going, like, I don't give a shit what you say, basically, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? And that's the first time we've really seen
pal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all because of its pal lighter. If it had been some random dude, he wouldn't have gone to that length. It's hitting in there, Tommy. It's hitting him right there.
Absolutely.
But it makes for a powerful scene, doesn't it? I mean, like a really, really memorable scene as well, which is great.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Okay, so what we got for the next one?
We have.
Well, it's a wise gambler who knows when his luck is run out. Why this?
In my business, you prepare for the unexpected.
And what business is that?
I help people with problems.
Problem solver.
I'm more of a problem eliminator.
Now, this one I think is so good. It's like, the classic Bond scene is the Bond and the villain meeting each other for the first time, and you always look forward to that when you watch a Bond film. And this one, I think, is a great one with Sanchez and Bond, because Sanchez doesn't know who Bond is. You know, a lot of the time when he meets Zorin, there's that sort of byplay, but Zorin really knows that Bond is Bond and he's out to get him. Here, Sanchez doesn't quite know who he is, but it's Bond that's playing him and trying to like worm his way into being his mate and stuff like this, and saying that he could help him out. And I think it's just a really, really good scene. And he knows exactly how to sort of press Sanchez's buttons about loyalty and all of that sort of stuff. He knows what to do. And he's a little bit cocky when he sort of says, "Oh, that shouldn't be too difficult," you know, in terms of gaining employment, which is, you know, you don't get that a lot. Yeah. But I think it's a really, really decent scene. This one
that's one of the cool things. That's one of the things Bond does all the time, is he goes in there and this one is different, but he goes in there and he just prods them a little bit. You know, I thought I saw a spectre at your shoulder, things like that. You know, I thought I'd be lost at sea. You know, all those kinds of things, just as little hints. So the villain's like, hold on a minute, like, what's going on here? And he's trying to provoke a reaction. Whereas
Fishing,
this time,
fly casting,
indeed, it's all that stuff. He does it all the time. Whereas this time, it's not about that. It's about actually gaining his trust and really going deep cover. Which, as we said, man, rarely do you see Bond do any actual deep spying, and that's one of the great things about Licensed Skill, is you do get to see that. And yeah, man, I think that's the way to do it. The way he goes in that casino, he starts losing money. Then he gets their attention basically by the way he's playing at the casino table. That brings him into Sanchez's office, and he's just dropping the right little seeds to just attract Sanchez, rather than just rocking in there and being like, "Hey, I'm a hired gun." You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. He's peaking. He's coming in under the radar a little bit more, and sort of like making Sanchez believe he's the one that's found him, rather than the other way around. Which is really, really nice. I do enjoy that a lot.
Cool. Excellent stuff. Okay, so here we'll move on to the next one.
Sorry to wake you, hermano. I thought you'd like to know the information you gave me paid off. I got the guy who set me up.
Only one guy?
What do you mean?
Just thought that no one would be stupid enough to try to take you on their own.
Okay, so now this one was interesting because he set up Sanchez in terms of, he set up Crest to get towards Sanchez, and here we see that paying off. Sanchez is like, okay, I'm so glad I hired you. I set up the guy who, I got the guy who set me up, and it's all thanks to you. The information you gave me paid off. And then Bond plays it even more. He's like, only one guy. And again, it's just forming that bond a bit more, if you excuse the pun. And and it's a great scene because Bond is just that interwoven into Sanchez's scheme even more at that point. Yeah, absolutely. That's a masterful bit of manipulation, I think, is what he pulls off there, just to unstabilize Sanchez a little bit more. Now, answer me this question: why doesn't he just steal a little knife off the table and just stick it in Sanchez's throat there and then? Interesting. Why would he? Because I think his organisation, I guess, would still be running, even if it was by someone else. And ultimately, I think he just wants to destroy everything that Sanchez owns.
That's a good answer.
That'd be his organisation. Yeah, I think because affected him so much.
Bond is everything or nothing, isn't he? He's not only going to get revenge on the dude, he's also going to take down his whole operation as well. Very nice.
Totally.
I like that answer.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So our final little nugget from License to Kill is this little beauty.
You could have had everything.
Don't you want to know why?
Now that, I think, is great. I really like that moment because, there's typically in a Bond film, you have that moment where, the villain's got Bond right where he wants him. He's dangling him over some sharks or whatever. And then the villain's he's just got to tell him the master plan. And then obviously that's the time. Yeah. Bond invented that as far as I'm concerned. Do you know what I mean? Oh. He invented the slow moving dipping mechanism and all that kind of stuff. So he gives him time to turn it around. This time, it's a lot more subtle, isn't it? He's literally machete in the air. He's about to pull it down and decapitate Bond. And this time, the thing that gets the villain's attention off the task at hand is, don't you want to know why? And of course you would, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? It's like this dude comes out of nowhere and fucks everything up. You would want to know what's his motive. What's he doing here? He's obviously not working for any government in this case. And then just looking at that lighter, and then there it is. You set Paul Weston on fire.
So... Yeah, I know. Yeah, Paul. But I mean, it's a great way for Sanchez to die, isn't it? I mean, it's not just physically in terms of, going up in flames, covered in gas and cocaine and stuff. It's the fact that how it's delivered and Bond has finally got his revenge. And Felix has helped him get that revenge through the lighter sort of thing, which is really nice. And Della in a way as well. Obviously, it was from her as well. And that transformation from being barely able to crawl with a machete at your face to overcoming Sanchez, it's just chalk and cheese in terms of the position that Bond is in, isn't it? And you get that lovely moment just afterwards where he's still sort of he's catching his breath, he's leaning against a rock, his clothes are shredded, he's got blood everywhere, and he's like, how the fuck did I survive that? And you got a brilliant bit of music going, and it's just superb, absolutely superb.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Good stuff.
Love it.
All right, that about wraps up the first half of the Timmy D retrospective. Some absolutely cool moments there. So this is going to be a two-parter. So what are we going to be talking about next time?
It is. So next time we're going to be looking at certain things like the best action scenes, the best deaths, the dangerous scenes. There's a lot of fun to look forward to in the next in the retrospective part 2. I can't wait.
Very nice. I'm looking forward to that. Good stuff. So then, shall we answer Shamir's Bond trivia question of the day? Shall we have a little reminder and then we'll have a stab?
Let's do it.
Right now, I live in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and James Bond actually visited the city where I live right now in one of the Fleming novels. Can you guys guess which novel that is?
Right then, so a Fleming story where Bond travels to Ottawa. Now you're looking confident, Tommy. I can see a little bit of a sway in the shoulders. I can see the eyebrow raise. I think you're.
I'm trying to get my George Swagger walking into a hotel lobby kind of vibe.
I like it. Okay, so I don't know definitely, but I think it's one of the short stories. Am I in the right direction?
Well, you say I'm swaggering. I'm not actually that sure.
All right.
I've got a rough idea of where I think it might be.
Right. Are you thinking short stories or not?
I'm not thinking a short story.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong then. What are you thinking?
So my guess goes to The Spy Who Loved Me. There's a vague something in me. Now I've said that, I don't know if the vague something in me is the fact that they shot the ski jump
in the film
in Canada. Maybe that's the little thing at the back of my mind. But I've got a feeling Canada is in the book. But I can't remember 100%. It's been a long time since I've read that one. What about you? Which short story are you thinking?
I know it's not Quantum of Solace, and I know it's not a Hildebrand Rarity. What are the other ones? The other short stories that are in that one? It's not The Living Daylights, obviously.
Yeah. You've got, oh man, that's a question, trying to reel off the short stories at short notice.
Sorry to really put you under the spot.
Yeah, Octopussy.
No, it's definitely Octopussy.
You've got...
What else is... It's not From A View to a Kill either.
Go on then,
You've
which
got
one
You
do you think
Only
it
Live
is?
Twice. I think it's either You Only Live Twice or...
Well, You Only Live Twice isn't a short story.
No, not You Only Live Twice. What am I talking about? A Few Eyes Only, I meant, sorry. I get those two mixed up way too often. It's either that or... What's the other one? Maybe Quantum.
Go on then, so what's your answer?
I don't know. It could be Spy You Love Me.
I like it. All right, let's have a listen and find out.
And the answer is that Bond visited Ottawa in For Your Eyes Only when he was on a mission to execute an ex-Gestapo agent named von Hammerstein, or von Hammerstein, whichever one you want to use as a pronunciation. Hope you guys got that one, and keep up the good work. Thanks. Bye.
Well, Chris, it seems like you were on the right track after all.
Well, I didn't get it because I bottled out. So I think you should go with your gut sometimes. You know when you got that thing that's telling you, but you're like, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is. But that's a tough question. Good question.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I need to get a bit cracking on those.
Well
short
done
stories
to you for being on the right scent. I guess it must have been the ski jump that was ringing bells for me with Canada there. Good stuff. Excellent. Nice one, Shamir. Good one for getting in touch and a cracking question. Yeah, good stuff. Next up, Chris, it's time for the Guess the Quote round.
Bond, James Bond.
Lovely, very nice. That was a Timmy delivery of the Bond James Bond line. I liked it, nice and quick. Yeah. So it was your quote last time, I think?
It was. And my quote last time was this. Sweet like money.
Is it Dominic Green?
It's not Dominic Green, no.
Is it Truman Lodge?
It's not Truman Lodge, no. But that's both decent questions. Decent choices.
Am I in any remotely this right eras with either of those two?
I would say it's an 80s film.
It's an 80s film. Is it A View to a Kill?
I'd say it's the main villain.
Is it Max Zorin?
No.
Oh,
I'd say.
Is it?
The first name that you just had was right.
Max Zorin?
No, the first name, not the surname, the first name.
Dominic Green?
No. The first name of Max Zorin.
The first name, Max.
Yeah. And then you expand on Max to make it a bigger name, and then you add...
I know what you've done. It's Max the Parrot, isn't it? No, it's Maximilian Largo, isn't it? From Never Say Never Again. You got me.
At the end, he puts the old water in and then spits it out and goes, sweet money. Yeah, there we go.
I need to watch Never Say Never Again more than I do, actually.
Yeah,
there's some good stuff in there.
Cool.
All right.
Okay, so what have you got for me this time?
I've got a quote for you this time. It goes like this.
Okay.
The Prime Minister has asked the Home Secretary to come and represent him here today.
Oh,
no, I can't say that because that would give you a clue.
No,
yeah.
You should have done. All right, can you do it one more time?
The Prime Minister has asked the Home Secretary to come and represent him here today.
Okay. I haven't. It's not definitely there, but it's ringing bells for sure.
All right, very
nice.
nice.
Okay, I like it. Good delivery.
So we had a listener quote from Henrik Jordan, didn't we, last time? So
we did, and I loved it. Yeah.
Should we have a little reminder?
Yeah, let's do it.
Damn it, man! I said it's urgent.
Okay, now I'm going to just throw out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this is from one of your favourite Bonds of all time that came out around about the same time as Never Say Never Again.
It certainly did, yes.
All right, very nice. So give it to me. Who is it?
It's got to be James Bond himself, Roger Moore, in Octopussy. Do you know what scene it's from?
He is in full clown gear, isn't he, at the time?
Just before. So it's when they come up to the airbase, and he's still in the Mishko Grishka gear, and he's like, he has to follow someone. He's like, damn it, man, I said it's urgent. And then he sort of, has to go in the car and stuff just before he changes. But yeah, you're on the right scene, basically. Right, cool, good. Yeah. I tell you what, Henrik, absolutely spot on delivery that was,
wasn't it? That's like I said last time, because I was on the case with that one, pretty sharpish, and it was the delivery that did it for me. Yeah, that was very nice. Good stuff.
Hi, Tom and Chris. Henrik Jordan back for solving the question to the sentence or the quote from the film, which was, "Damn it, man, I said it's urgent." And that it's, of course, the scene where Bond arrives in the stolen Alfa Romeo at the military base in Feldstadt, I'm in German, Feldstadt, which was, of course, a fantasy name like San Monique or Isthmus City, and tries to tell the US Army officer at the gate to let him through, to stop the bomb from going off in Octopussy. All the best from Henrik from Berlin. Keep up the great work. Bye.
So, I believe we have a new listener quote this week from one Mr. James Drennan. Chris, should we have a listen to what James has got for us?
Yeah, let's have a listen.
Hello, Tom and Chris. It's James Drennan here from Station New Ulster, calling with another listener quote. I've got a bit of a cold, so you're going to have to bear with me. Here goes. Copy from Makarov, 59, standard issue. And that's all you're getting, lads. So have a go with that in there, and hope to be seeing you soon. Bye.
Very nice, James. Good stuff. I don't know whether the accent there is included in the delivery, but if it's not included with the delivery, I'm pretty sure I'm on the right track with that one. And there may be even a clue in what I just said that leads to that scene.
Ooh. So I like where you're coming with.
Yeah, but maybe again, here I am swaggering along, and I'm clueless like I was with with Shamir's question this week. But there we go.
No, it's a good quote though. Thanks for that, James.
Nice one, James. Nice. Good stuff. So next up, it is time for.
Who wrote the score for Live and Let Die? Who played Helga Brandt? How did she die? Who wants to stockpile the water in Bolivia? It's Tommy Trivia.
That's right, it's time for Tommy Trivia. Chris is going to whip out his Trivial Pursuit 007 deck and tease me with a question by dangling it in front of the screen like that. So give it to me. What you got for me?
Okay, we're going to go straight in with gadgets and weapons. What is the title of the laser specialist Dr. Metz? What is the title of the laser specialist Dr. Metz's cassette tape? Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. Say it again.
Okay, so Professor Dr. Metz in Diamonds Are Forever, he's got a cassette tape which he uses for something. What is the title on that tape?
World's Greatest Marches?
Yes!
Nice.
Let me double check. Yes, man. Brilliant. Okay, on to locations. Where does Carver sink the HMS Devonshire?
In the South China Sea.
My God, you're on it, man. Yes, perfect.
Nice.
Okay, on to crew and behind the scenes. Who directed From Russia with Love?
That would be Terence Young.
It certainly would. 3 out of 3. This is
Very
awesome.
nice.
Okay, now which character does Andreas Wisniewski play?
That would be good old Nikros.
Yes. Okay, so 4 out of 4. 2 more to go. On to the films. What is Bond's code phrase to Tanaka?
What is his code phrase to Tanaka would be, well, if you're Tanaka, how do you feel about me? But Tanaka would say, I love you.
There we go. Nice. I'm assuming that's what they're going for.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, nice. I covered my bases there by giving both just in case. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Final question for a full 6 out of 6 is on the vehicles. What make and model of car is used by Bond when he executes a corkscrew jump in The Man with the Golden Gun? So what make and model?
Bollocks. That's going to be a detail
come on,
that
Tommy.
hasn't stuck in my mind. Shit. Oh, I so nearly had a clean sweep. I know as soon as you tell me. It's orange.
Yes, it is.
As soon as you tell me, I know it. But details like cars like that don't stick in my mind. I don't remember cars all that well, aside from the really big ones. Bollocks. I'm not going to get it. Give it to me.
It is an AMC
Hornet
hatchback. Yes, see, you knew it.
I get. Do I get half a point for that?
You definitely get a half mark for that. 100% you get a half mark.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5.5. Absolutely superb.
Lovely.
There we go.
I'm pleased with that. Yeah,
90%.
nice.
Boom.
Next up, it's time for our final game of the day, which is... It's the music cue. Okay, so you had a nice little cue for us last time, didn't you? So should we have a little reminder?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have a listen.
Okay, I instinctively feel it's a formative Bond film for me that came along in the year of our Lord 1995. Am I correct in that?
I would say you're definitely correct.
Very nice. Do you know what give it away? It's those little boom things in the background. It's like a boom sound. Those are littered throughout the GoldenEye soundtrack.
Sarah loves it, doesn't he?
There it is. Yeah, he does.
Okay, now scene. What are we thinking?
I think it's the scene where we see the big satellite dish thing come out of the water.
Mate, you've only gone and done it.
Oh,
there
lovely.
he is.
I'm very happy with myself.
Superb.
Nice.
Yeah. GoldenEye, that is your mastermind, isn't it? GoldenEye.
Yeah. That's my formative Bond right there. I think in my younger years, it would have been For Your Eyes Only, 7, 8, 13 onwards. I was balls deep into GoldenEye. It took over my entire existence, that film, for quite a long time.
We're going to be hearing a bit more about that in when we get around to reviewing it.
We're getting close. We're getting close to the old Pierce era. So have you got a new quote, cue for me this time?
I certainly do. And this one, I think, is a good one. Let's have a listen.
Ooh. That's a little beauty. I can tell it's an old one. Like, you can tell that instantly, but it doesn't leap into my mind immediately of what scene that is, or indeed what film it is. I feel like it could be...
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I feel like it could be a couple that I've got in mind.
Yeah.
Or maybe it could be even more than a couple. I don't know, but good choice. You got me there. That's nice.
Cool. Okay. We'll have to wait and see.
I will see how that feels over the next week. Good stuff. Okay, so that about rounds out today's episode of James Bond Radio, the Timothy Dalton Retrospective Part 1. We're going to be back next week with the Timothy Dalton Retrospective Part 2, aren't we, Chris?
We certainly are, and I cannot wait, Tommy. I cannot wait.
Splendid. Okie dokie. Until then, James Bond Radio will return. I've been Tom Sears.
I've been Chris Wright.
And we'll see you next week. Take it easy, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.